Let me ask you something. How many times this week did you get mad over something that didn't matter 24 hours later? Traffic. A text left on read. Someone said something at work. Your kid pushed the wrong button. Again, and boom, you lost it. Now you're stuck in the cycle. You explode. You cool down. You feel guilty. You tell yourself you'll do better. But the next day, you're right back there, triggered, reactive, out of control. And it's not just exhausting. It's costing you. It's costing you connection, peace, time, focus, even your own damn self-respect. I'm not here to tell you to count to 10 or imagine a calm river or just breathe. I'm here to tell you something that might piss you off before it sets you free. Anger is a habit, and that means you can break it. This isn't about pretending to be calm. This is about retraining your reactions, rewiring your mind, reclaiming your control not over others, but over yourself. So if you're done feeling hijacked by your emotions, if you're tired of letting your triggers decide who you are, good. Because what we're about to get into will flip your perspective, call you out, and hand you back the power you forgot you had. Let's go. Most people think anger is just who they are. I've always had a short fuse, or that's just how I deal with stress. But the truth is, anger is not a permanent part of your personality. It's a habit, and like any habit, it's something that was learned, repeated, reinforced, and eventually became automatic. If you can teach yourself to be angry in response to life's frustrations, you can unlearn it. That's the punch in the gut most people don't want to hear, because it means you've had control this entire time. You've just been choosing a shortcut reaction over a more productive one. Think about it. When you're angry, your body tightens up, your jaw clenches, your tone gets sharp, your thoughts race, and everything is about defending, reacting, and exploding. That's not your authentic self. That's a trained loop. Something bad happens, and boom, the loop fires off. You're not choosing to think, you're reacting from muscle memory. The same way you learn to type without looking at the keyboard, you've learned to lose it without realizing it's a choice. Now the uncomfortable truth. Anger feels powerful. There's adrenaline. There's a sense of righteousness. There's a fake sense of control. That's the real reason people stay angry, not because they don't want to change, but because they get something from it. It becomes a source of certainty. You know how to do this. It's familiar. You don't have to do the work of slowing down or understanding your emotions or listening to another perspective. You just react. So here's the shift. Stop thinking of anger as a justified emotion and start treating it like a reflex that doesn't serve you. When someone pokes a bruise and you lash out, you're not being strong, you're exposing a wound. And wounds need healing, not defense. If you keep responding with anger, you never deal with the pain underneath. You're basically choosing to bleed on everyone around you instead of learning how to clean the cut. This doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you're stuck in a habit loop. And the moment you realize that, you've already started to break it. Because awareness is the first crack in the pattern. Here's a hard truth that took me years to learn. Anger is usually the second emotion. The real one, fear, hurt, shame, disappointment, it's hiding underneath. Anger's just easier to express. You get cut off in traffic, and you scream. But what's under that? Maybe it's fear that you're not in control. Maybe it's anxiety about being late. Maybe it's resentment that your life feels like it's moving too fast. But instead of dealing with those quieter, more vulnerable emotions, you go straight to the hammer. It feels good for a second. It gives you a sense of release. But it also pushes people away. It costs you energy. It makes everything feel harder. And it never gets to the root. The real power, the kind that creates peace and clarity, comes from interrupting the habit. The second you feel that fire rising, you have a choice. Do you react the way you always have? Or do you pause and recognize the loop for what it is? That pause is everything. It's where change lives. You don't have to fix it all at once. You just have to stop feeding the pattern. One deep breath, one moment of space. That's how the habit starts to weaken. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to interrupt the loop enough times that your brain gets the message. This is not how we do things anymore. The way you break a habit isn't by wishing it away, it's by replacing it. So instead of reacting in anger, You practice responding with something else. Curiosity, calm, even silence. You train yourself to pause, to breathe, to ask what's really going on here. And no, it won't feel natural at first. It'll feel forced, even fake. That's okay. Habits aren't built on comfort. They're built on repetition. The first few times you override your anger, your brain will resist, but keep doing it. The more you choose the pause over the explosion, the more that becomes your new normal. You're not losing power. You're gaining it. Because real power is staying in control when your old self would have lost it. That's how you stop being a slave to the loop. That's how you take your life back. Where your focus goes, your emotions follow. Every single time. It's not magic, it's neuroscience. If you zero in on what's wrong, what's unfair, what pissed you off, guess what multiplies? The anger. It starts as a spark, but the moment you obsess over it, replay it, retell it in your head, you're pouring gasoline. That's not emotional regulation, that's self-sabotage, and you're the one holding the match. The story you feed is the emotion you feel. You don't need therapy to understand that. You just need to notice what you're choosing to focus on in the moment the frustration hits. That one coworker who didn't CC you, the friend who replied late, the driver who cut you off. These are small events. They become huge not because of what happened, but because you locked in on them like a heat-seeking missile. You made the moment matter more than it needed to. That's focus, that's choice, and it's the reason your mood can crash in 30 seconds flat. Anger doesn't just happen. It's built, brick by your focus. You start with a thought like they're always ignoring me. Or why do people treat me this way? And now you're scanning for proof. Everything they do gets filtered through that lens. Now they didn't wave, rude. They didn't text back fast enough, disrespect. You build a case against people in your head before you even ask what's actually going on. And that's how you end up furious at someone who didn't even know there was a problem. That's what happens when you let your focus roam without discipline. And here's the uncomfortable part. You can't control other people, but you can control what you focus on. Most people flip that. They try to control everyone else, but they let their own thoughts run wild, backwards, completely backwards. You want peace, control your focus, because whatever you water grows. Keep watering the offense, the frustration, the injustice, even if it's valid, and you're going to live in a constant state of rage. And guess what? Your brain will get addicted to it. Yep, your brain actually rewards you for angry focus. Dopamine, it feels intense. It feels important. It gives you something to do, but it's not productive. It's not helping. It's not giving you power, it's draining it. Like junk food for your mind. Feels good going down. Makes you sick after. So what's the alternative? Shift the spotlight. Not to fake positivity. That's garbage. Don't pretend things are fine when they're not. But shift toward what you can do. Shift toward the facts, not the story. Ask questions. Is this worth my energy? Am I even right? Is there another explanation? Could this not be about me at all? This isn't spiritual bypassing. This is mental discipline. The same way you train your body, you have to train your focus. It's not fun at first. It's like trying to wrangle a wild animal. Your brain will want to go back to the drama, the injustice, the flame. But if you want freedom from anger, you've got to own your spotlight. You've got to grab the controls and steer your mind away from the spiral. The truth is, the way out of anger isn't by resisting the emotion, it's by redirecting the focus that feeds it. When you focus on what you can influence, instead of what pissed you off, the emotion starts to shift. When you focus on how you're reacting, instead of what triggered you, the emotion loses power. When you focus on what's still good, still working, still in your control, you make space. That space, that's where your sanity lives. That's where your choices live. You want to never get angry again. Master that space. Master your focus. You're not a victim of your feelings. You're the DJ playing the tracks. Anger is a track. You keep spinning it because it's familiar, not because it's helpful. Change the track. You don't need a better mood, you need a better focus. It's not the traffic, it's the story you're telling yourself about the traffic. It's not the email, it's the meaning you're assigning to the email. It's not even the person, it's the mental highlight reel you're looping in your head about how they always do this, how they never respect you, how it's always something. And that reel, that's optional. You can shut it off. You can choose to look at something else, something useful, something true, something that actually helps you move forward instead of stewing in circles. Most people treat their emotional reaction as gospel. If they feel offended, someone must have disrespected them. If they feel ignored, someone must be rejecting them. But that's not truth, that's a trigger. Big difference. A trigger is the spark. It's the old wound. It's the subconscious reflex firing without your permission. Truth, that takes investigation. It takes maturity. It takes a pause. But most people don't pause. They explode. They spiral. They take their feelings as evidence and start building a whole narrative on top of a single moment. That's how you destroy peace. That's how you lose control. You confuse what you feel with what's real. Just because something triggers you doesn't mean it's true. Let that sink in. Your brain stores every past hurt, every rejection, every slight real or imagined. And when something happens that vaguely resembles that, your nervous system doesn't check the facts. It reacts. It sends you into defense mode, into fight or flight. Someone raises their voice. You remember your dad yelling. Someone doesn't respond quickly. You remember being ghosted. That person isn't your dad. That delay isn't ghosting. But your body can't tell the difference unless you intervene. That's why people overreact. That's why people snap. They think they're reacting to the present, but they're actually reacting to their past. That's the trap, that's the cycle, and that's what you break when you stop letting the trigger be the truth. Next time you feel that wave of heat, the anger, the tightness in your chest, the rush of indignation, stop. Name it. I'm triggered. Not they disrespected me. Not this is unacceptable. Just I'm triggered. That one sentence creates space. That space is gold. In that space, you have a chance to question the story. Is what I'm feeling actually what's happening? Is there another version of this? Would 5 other people feel the same way in this moment? Am I projecting? These questions don't excuse bad behavior from others. They stop you from reacting based on old patterns, because your goal is not to feel justified. Your goal is to be free. There's a big difference. Here's the truth. Most anger isn't caused by what's happening, it's caused by the meaning you attach to it. Your boss cancels your meeting. You think, they don't respect my time. Now you're angry. But what if they were stuck in traffic? What if they had a family emergency? You didn't check. You assumed. That assumption created the emotion, not the event, the meaning, and the meaning came from your trigger. This is happening constantly, all day, every day. Your partner sighs, and you think they're mad at you. Your friend doesn't invite you out, and you think they're done with you. You react, not to reality, but to a story made in your head in under 3 seconds. That story, trigger, driven, not truth based. If you want to stop getting angry all the time, you need to learn how to break the link between trigger and reaction. Right now, it's automatic. Trigger equals reaction. Like a light switch. Your job is to install a dimmer. Slow the moment down. Recognize what's happening. I just got hit by a trigger. My body wants to lash out. My brain is running a familiar loop, but I don't have to follow it. That's self-leadership. That's how you retrain the habit. You take back control by refusing to take your reaction as fact. And yes, it takes effort. But the alternative is living like a puppet, yanked around by every emotional pull from your environment. You want power, cut the strings. Let's be clear, this doesn't mean you become passive. It means you become precise. It means instead of lashing out, you get curious. That comment pissed me off. Why? What did it hit? Maybe it hit your fear of being unappreciated. Maybe it reminded you of being dismissed as a kid. Maybe it poked your pride. Whatever it is, that's the real work. The real work isn't screaming, blaming, venting. That's emotional junk food. Feels good in the moment. Leaves a mess behind. The real work is slowing down enough to catch the gap between what happened and what you decided it meant. You can't stop being triggered, but you can stop letting it control. Your body always knows before your brain catches up. That's the first thing you need to understand if you want to stop losing your temper. Anger doesn't show up fully formed. It starts as a whisper, a flicker in your chest, a tightening in your jaw, a rush of heat in your neck. But you've been ignoring those signals for so long, they feel normal. So by the time your mind registers "I'm angry," you're already halfway into yelling, shutting down, storming out, or blowing up. That's too late. You want to never get angry again. Start noticing the physical signal before the thought. Your body isn't the enemy. It's the alarm system. And if you stop hitting snooze, you can interrupt the entire reaction before it takes over. Pay attention the next time something irritates you. Don't just track your thoughts, track your body. Do your shoulders tense? Does your stomach twist? Do you clench your fists or grind your teeth? That's the moment. That's the first flash of the reaction. Don't wait for the story to form in your head, catch it at the body level. Because once your thoughts start racing, it's much harder to pull back. It's like a roller coaster. If you get on, you're riding it to the end. But if you notice the seatbelt clicking, you still have time to get off. Most of the world is running on physical autopilot. You don't even realize how much your body is steering the emotional ship. You feel tight, so you lash out. You feel adrenaline, so you raise your voice. You feel heat rising in your chest, so you assume something bad is happening. But those are just sensations. They're not instructions. You're not supposed to obey them. You're supposed to notice them, interrupt them, and reroute. Think about it like this: your body's job is to alert you. Your job is to respond with awareness, not obedience. Your body says, "Hey, something's off." That's not a green light to explode. It's a signal to pause, breathe, and ask, what is this sensation trying to tell me? You need to understand what anger feels like physically for you. Everyone's tells are different. For some people, it's a hot face. For others, it's rapid breathing or a pulsing vein or a gut drop. Map that out. Know your anger pattern like you know your coffee order. Because once you know it, you can use it. You can feel the first sign of heat and immediately say, there it is. Pause. One breath in through your nose, one slow exhale, not to calm down, to interrupt the momentum. That's the move. You don't have to stop feeling it. You just have to stop feeding it. This is not about becoming a Zen robot. It's about training your nervous system not to hijack your life, because that's what anger does. It hijacks you. It takes over your words, your posture, your voice, your decisions. And when you're back in your rational mind, you're left cleaning up the mess. Regret, guilt, apologies, rebuilding trust over and over. If you want to stop that cycle, you start at the source, the body. Not the story, not the trigger, the body. That's where the shift happens. And here's the wild part: the same body that warns you can also rewire you. You don't just recognize the physical signal. You use it to reroute. Feel the heat, cool your breathing, feel the tension, relax your jaw, feel the tightness, drop your shoulders. These aren't soft skills. These are tactical resets. Physical actions that flip your system out of fight or flight and back into control. You're not trying to suppress the anger, you're short-circuiting the spiral. One small physical reset buys you time. And time is where logic lives. Time is where choice lives. You want to change your emotional habits. Start by buying yourself 5 seconds of space. That space, it lives in the body. The truth is, we're not taught to listen to our bodies. We're taught to live in our heads, but your brain is slow. By the time it's narrating the problem, your body's already halfway through a meltdown. Reverse it. Listen earlier, catch it quicker, intervene faster. Your body isn't betraying you, it's giving you the earliest chance to choose something different. That's the work. That's the key. You don't stop anger in your head. You stop it in your shoulders, your breath, your neck, your fists. That's where the loop begins, and that's where you break. If you're constantly angry, you're probably blaming something or someone, your boss, your spouse, your ex, the world, politics, whatever. That's what outrage feeds on: external focus. You point the finger. You build your case. You say, if they would just change, I wouldn't feel this way. That feels good for about 5 minutes. You get to be right. You get to be the victim. You get to feel justified. But guess what you don't get? Peace, progress, power. Because as long as you blame, you're giving away your control. You're handing your emotional state to someone else and hoping they do something different. That's not strength. That's emotional dependency. If your calm relies on them behaving better, you're not in charge, they are. Anger thrives in blame. It needs a villain. It needs a target. That's what keeps it alive. But here's the truth you don't want to hear. No matter what someone else did, your response is still your responsibility. You don't get to choose what happens, but you always choose how you show up. And yes, that sounds harsh. It should, because this is where real change starts. Not when the world becomes easier, not when people suddenly treat you better, but when you decide, I will not be a slave to external chaos. I will own my internal state, fully. That's radical responsibility. It's not blame. It's ownership, and there's a massive difference. Blame says, it's your fault, so I'm off the hook. Ownership says, this is mine to manage, even if it's not my fault. This is the moment where people usually resist. They say, so what, I'm just supposed to let people treat me badly. No, you have boundaries, you speak up, you walk away, but you don't erupt, you don't lose yourself. You don't let someone else's dysfunction drag you into your own. Because once you do that, they win twice, first by behaving badly, and second by hijacking your peace. Ownership doesn't mean passivity. It means precision. It means responding with clarity instead of reacting with chaos. It means being the kind of person who handles difficult situations without becoming difficult in the process. You cannot control other people, that's a fact, but you can always control your part, and that's the only part that matters. Your words, your tone, your energy, your choice to pause instead of explode, your decision to ask a question instead of make an accusation, your ability to step away instead of fire back. These are the levers you can pull. And the more you pull them, the less power anything or anyone else has over you. That's what breaks the anger cycle, not waiting for fairness, but stepping into ownership. Here's what's wild. The more responsibility you take, the less you get triggered. Why? Because blame creates powerlessness, and powerlessness fuels anger. It feels like you're stuck, like you've got no options, like the world's against you. That's a perfect storm for rage. But when you take ownership, you feel capable. You feel grounded. You realize, I don't need them to change for me to be okay. That realization is freedom, not emotional numbness, not avoidance, actual freedom. You don't get pulled into every fire because you're not made of gasoline anymore. And let's be real, you're not angry because of just one thing. You're angry because you've been collecting little resentments. Every time you said nothing, every time you felt overlooked, every time you didn't speak up or clarify or ask for what you needed. That stuff builds, it simmers, and eventually, one tiny moment lights the whole pile on fire. You scream at your kid, but it started at work. You snap at your partner, but it started with that email. That's what happens when you don't own your stuff. It spills everywhere, on people who don't deserve it. And then you feel guilt on top of anger. That's the emotional debt of blame. You keep paying interest for problems you never resolved. So what do? You start by asking, what part of this is mine? Not in a self-blaming way, in a self-empowered way. You ask, what can I do differently next time? You don't wait for apologies or for the stars to align. You lead. You model emotional maturity even when it's not returned. That's leadership. That's growth. And that's how anger loses its grip, not when life gets easier, but when you stop giving your emotional steering wheel to everyone else.